Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. We hope that you and your family are healthy. The lesson is going to get started in just a minute. We want to give folks a little bit more time to join in. While we wait, let me tell you a little bit more about us. Emerald Bay Outdoor Academy is a curriculum-based outdoor science camp for school groups, and we're located on Catalina Island. We are a program of the nonprofit Western Los Angeles County Council of the Boy Scouts of America. As we go through the lesson, please feel free to put any questions in the comments. Some of the questions will be answered in the chat, and others will be answered live at the end of the lesson. All right, I think we're ready to get started now.
Hi everyone, my name's Calla, and on behalf of the Emerald Bay Outdoor Academy, welcome to our live stream. Today we're here at the Invert Touch Tank at the Pennington Marine Science Center at Emerald Bay. We're on Catalina Island, and I love to dive on Catalina Island. One of my favorite things when I'm diving is looking for inverts, so that's what today's lesson is going to be. There is a downloadable worksheet that will be available online if you do want to follow along. We do like to start every lesson with a bad joke. So today's bad joke is, who is the most famous reggae singer in the ocean? The answer is Calla Marley. Get it? All right, so let's just go right into the lesson. To talk about inverts, we need to know what exactly an invertebrate is. Invertebrates are animals that lack backbones. This is 95% of all animal species. It makes up over 30 phyla. They live in the land and in the ocean, and anything from insects to worms to crabs. Those are all invertebrates. So you guys are really familiar with inverts. In marine inverts specifically, they live in all ocean ecosystems, from the warm tropics to the freezing waters of the Arctic, and they can be the primary food source or at the top of a food chain. So they're really diverse, and they occupy all different kinds of niches. So to get into it, we should talk about the most common groups of inverts that you might find in the ocean. First, I want to talk about the phylum Porifera. So if we look over here, Porifera are our sponges. This is an orange puffball sponge that you can see in this jar. This is some orange encrusting sponge, and this is some red encrusting sponge. Sponges are kind of early in the evolutionary tree. They branch off of the clade that you might see kind of early. So they're multicellular organisms, and they are filter feeders. So what they do is they filter water through their bodies, picking out the food particles and expelling the water that they don't need. They can come in all shapes and forms, like we see with the encrusting versus the puffball, and they even come in these giant barrel sponges, and they have no body symmetry. So the next group that I want to talk about are the cnidarians. Cnidarians you might know as jellyfish, anemones, and corals. As you can see, our resident anemone is right here. What defines anemones, or cnidarians specifically, is that they have tentacles with stinging cells. This cnidarian is sessile, which means it doesn't move, but this can change in different life phases. For example, jellyfish move as adults, anemones don't. So these guys are suspension feeders. And what that means is that they let their tentacles hang out and they just wait for food to pass by, and they use those stinging cells to grab it and pull it in to feed. The next phylum that I want to talk about are the echinoderms. So Echinodermata, it actually means spiny skin, and that has Greek roots. So as we can see, it has these long spines that it uses for protection. Systems. So let's move over to this sea star. So if I flip it over, you can see these hydraulic tube feet kind of waving around. And what these animals do is pull water into and out of their tube feet for movement, for feeding, for excreting waste, and for all the functions that it needs to perform, which is really cool. The other thing that I wanted to point out is this pentameral or five-sided symmetry in the sea star. This is common in most echinoderms. And yeah, cool. So there's one more echinoderm that I wanted to point out in the touch tank. The sea star's grabbing onto me a little bit. is the sea cucumber. Let's find one. So here's a sea cucumber, this long, soft animal that if I touch right here, you can see. So it also has these tube feet. And one really neat feature about echinoderms is that they can sometimes regenerate their body parts. So I'm sure you've heard in sea stars, they can regenerate lost arms if they've fallen off, but sea cucumbers actually do this thing called eviscerating. So when they feel scared, they can eviscerate or expel their internal organs and actually be able to regrow them. The next phylum that I want to talk about are the arthropods. So the phylum Arthropoda, that includes insects, but it also includes some marine animals. They are characterized by their exoskeletons, jointed limbs, and segmented bodies. They also have highly developed sense organs. So what we have here, let me get him ready, is a mantis shrimp. A mantis shrimp is a marine crustacean. So you can see the exoskeleton and the jointed limbs so that it can move. And I mentioned highly developed sense organs. So these mantis shrimp actually have very highly developed eyes. They can see as many as 16 different colors versus the 3 that we can see. So you can only really imagine how they perceive the world, which is really, really awesome. All right. The final phylum that I want to talk about are the mollusks. The phylum Mollusca is a very diverse group, and that's why it's one of my favorites. To understand the diversity of the mollusks, we can look at all of our animals in the touch tank and try to kind of figure it out. So this is a gastropod. This is a wavy top turban snail, and it's a kind of marine snail. So we could see the different body parts that it has. So if you look on the outside of the acrylic, which you are, there's a large muscular foot that it uses to stick onto things and move around. And then there's also this calcium carbonate, very hard shell on the outside that is secreted by something called the mantle on the inside of the animal, which is a type of modified epidermis. And if you want to look right here, this is a snail that kind of just fell off the glass. This structure right here is called the operculum. So when it feels scared, the soft part of the animal will go back inside the shell, and the operculum will close like a little door to protect it or prevent it from drying out. So another kind of marine gastropod that we should look at, if you come over here, is the abalone. So this is an abalone. It has the same hard shell that we mentioned, and it has this giant black muscular foot. So it just clamps down right onto the rock when it feels threatened. Oh, and there it's showing its muscular foot. So that one looks quite a bit different from the wavy top turban snail. But one that you might be surprised that's a mollusk is our red octopus named Pickle. So let me just grab Pickle right here. As I mentioned, this is a red octopus. He's not normally in this little container, but we picked him out to show you all. So its tentacles are a modified foot that we were talking about. And as you can see, the body is sort of gelatinous. It's soft. It doesn't have that hard calcium carbonate shell that we mentioned. So it's evolved some different mechanisms of protection as opposed to its other mollusk cousins. So sorry about that. I'm gonna go ahead and keep going. This octopus can change the color and texture of its skin when it feels threatened, and it can also ink. So those are ways it protects itself without that hard shell. Cool. So now that we've gone over the 5 pretty common groups of marine invertebrates that you might find in the ocean, now we should know why are they so important to us? Well, there's a variety of reasons why they're really important to us. First, they're really important ecologically. They're ecosystem engineers, so they make habitat for other animals. They shape the chemical and biotic composition of the environment, and they form the basis of food chains. They're at the top of the food chain. They're all interspersed throughout the food chain. So taking that out at any point can really collapse those webs. Another thing that's really important to us is their commercial importance. We love to eat them. So there's huge fisheries with squid, crustaceans, and urchins, and they're also used in medicine and research. For example, scientists are investigating the use of chemical compounds produced by sponges for use in cancer therapies and HIV therapy. So that's some really interesting science going on. So overall, inverts maintain the integrity of marine and terrestrial ecosystems. They keep them healthy. They provide us food and resources. So it's really, really important to make an effort to conserve them. That is all the material I have for you all. So I know you're waiting on the little names of the cute little baby octopuses, and the names are, drum roll please, Lucy and Ethel. So congrats to whose ever suggestion that was, and that's what they'll be named. Now I think we'll have time for some viewer questions, and our moderator Trevor is going to read those out to you, and you'll hear him too.
Our first question is, are sponges considered a multi-celled organism?
Yes, totally. Sponges are multicellular organisms. They kind of, if you did see the cladogram that we saw, they're kind of the first multicellular animal that like branched off of that. So yeah, they're totally multicellular, but they don't have any defined tissues in them. So they're a little early evolutionarily. Yeah.
Our next question is there still a moratorium on abalone harvesting on the island?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I don't think I got the whole question.
The next question is there still a moratorium on abalone harvesting on the island?
You know, that's an awesome question, and I encourage you to research it on your own. But if you do check the Facebook page, we will have an answer for that shortly after.
Our next question is it true mantis shrimp eat fish poop?
That is a great question, and I actually have not researched the specific answer to that question, but yeah, I'm not so sure. I know that fish poop is important for the environment and for the chemical composition of the environment, but mantis shrimp do have these modified claws. So there's two different types of claws that they have. They can either be smashers, which means they just have like two basically really big punching fists, so they can punch holes in shells like mollusks, or they have spears, so they could spear fish or anything that goes by. So I'm hesitant to say that they eat fish poop because I know that they're made to hunt those specific prey.
Next up is, what do octopi eat?
Ooh, octopuses eat a lot of different things. They love to eat mollusks. I actually did an experiment on them one time to see whether they would eat mollusks or choose rocks, and oftentimes they chose to eat the mollusks, but they do eat a variety of things. They eat fish, but I think clams are probably their favorite, depending on the species and where they live.
Terrific. That's all of our questions today. Thank you, Calla.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to thank everyone for watching. If we didn't get to your question, again, I encourage you to do some online research because there's a wealth of resources out there. We'll try to answer all the extra questions in the comments. And if you would like to see more of our videos, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you would like to make a donation to help us continue to serve youth near and far, please follow the donation link in the comments. We greatly appreciate your support. Make sure to follow and like our Facebook page to hear about future lessons. Have a great day.